And she said, Bobby said, you sound really believable on that song. I said, well, I had nothing to do with it. Tom DeYall, he wrote.
Just moments ago, shocking news broke about country legend Bobby Bare, one of the most respected voices ever to grace the grand ole Opry stage. The 89-year-old icon, whose career has spanned more than 6 decades, just made a public statement that has stunned fans across the nation. Known for timeless hits like Detroit City and 500 Miles Away from Home, Bare has always carried himself with humility, grit, and heart. But what he revealed this time is different. It's deeply personal, emotional, and perhaps his most vulnerable confession yet. Those close to him say it's something he's kept inside for years, waiting for the right moment to speak. That moment is now. Before we reveal what Bobby Bare just said, and why it's sending shockwaves through Nashville, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss the stories that define country music's most legendary lives. Long before the headlines, before the fame, and the flashing Opry lights, Bobby Bare was just a small-town kid with a beat-up guitar and a dream too stubborn to die. Born in Ironton, Ohio in 1935, his childhood was far from glamorous. His mother passed away when he was very young, forcing him to grow up fast and lean on music as both escape and salvation. With little more than determination, Bobby began writing songs that spoke from the heart about struggle, love, and the quiet pain of survival. It wasn't about chasing stardom for him, it was about truth. By the time he moved to Nashville, he had already faced enough hardship to fill an album of his own. When he first tried breaking into the business, record labels turned him away. His rough, unpolished voice didn't fit the clean, radio-friendly sound of the time, but that voice, that raw, weathered sound, would eventually become the very thing that set him apart. In the late 1950s, he finally landed his breakthrough with The All-American Boy. Ironically, it was credited to another singer, and Bobby barely got recognition for it. Yet, he didn't quit. That setback only fueled his fire. Bare believed his purpose was bigger than fame, and he was right. In 1963, Detroit City changed everything. The song captured the aching loneliness of working men far from home, earning him a Grammy and cementing his place in country history. From there, he became one of Nashville's most respected storytellers. But as decades passed, Bare grew increasingly private. While his peers embraced the spotlight, Bobby stayed in the shadows, often disappearing for months at a time to write, reflect, or simply live quietly. Rumors swirled that he had unfinished songs tucked away in notebooks, songs too personal to release. In a 2017 interview, he hinted, "Some stories are too heavy to sing until you've lived them all the way through." Those words, in hindsight, seem almost prophetic, because now, insiders believe that his recent announcement isn't just about his career. It's about something far deeper. Something he's carried with him for years. Something that might finally explain his silence. For years, fans noticed something different about Bobby Bare. His appearances became rare, and when he did show up at the Opry or a country reunion, he seemed more reflective, like a man carrying a story too heavy to tell. Friends close to him describe a shift in his energy around 2018. He stopped touring extensively, avoided interviews, and even turned down offers for televised tributes. When asked why, he simply said, "Some chapters aren't ready to be read out loud yet." Those words stayed with everyone who knew him. Behind closed doors, however, Bobby was working on something extraordinary. Sources from the Nashville music scene revealed that Bare had been spending quiet nights at a small studio on the outskirts of town, recording what many now believe to be his secret farewell album. One studio engineer recalled, he'd come in after dark, sit down with his old guitar, and just start singing. Sometimes it was one take. Sometimes he'd stop mid-song, stare into space, and whisper, "That one's for them." No one knew who "them" referred to. Some speculated he was talking about his late friends, like Waylon Jennings or Johnny Cash, while others believed it was about family or fans he'd lost over the years. But what really got Nashville talking was a rumor that Bobby had left behind a sealed letter, hidden in his studio vault, to be opened when he was ready to make a final announcement. According to insiders, that letter contained not just a message, but also a list of unreleased songs written decades ago. These tracks, never heard by the public, were said to be among the most emotional he'd ever written. People close to the project claimed he recorded them with trembling hands and tears in his eyes. It wasn't about money or fame anymore, one producer said. It was about leaving a piece of his soul behind. As whispers spread across the industry, fans began piecing together clues from old interviews, song lyrics, and cryptic posts on Bear's social media. Many believe he had been trying to tell his audience something for years, something he wasn't ready to say outright until now. Then it happened. Just hours ago, Bobby Bear appeared on a live stream from his Nashville home, sitting in his familiar chair with his acoustic guitar resting beside him. The room was softly lit, the walls lined with gold records and framed photographs of a lifetime spent in music. His voice was calm, but carried the weight of truth as he began speaking directly to his fans. "I've been doing a lot of thinking lately," he said, pausing as if searching for the right words. "And I think it's time I finally share something I've been holding back for a long time." For a moment, there was silence. Then he continued, "This will be my last album, my final goodbye. I've given this life everything I had, and I want to leave it the way I came in. Honest, simple, and from the heart." The live chat exploded with disbelief. Some thought he was joking. Others begged him not to retire. But Bobby's eyes told a different story. This wasn't a publicity stunt or a nostalgic gesture. It was real. He revealed that over the past few years, he'd been quietly recording new material that would serve as his farewell to the fans who'd stood by him since the beginning. "Every note, every word," he said, "comes from a place of gratitude. You've given me a life I never thought I'd have, and this album is my thank you." Bear went on to describe how the project had become more than just an album. It was a reflection of his entire journey. He shared that the record would include both new songs and a few rediscovered tracks from the 1970s that he never finished back then, because, in his words, "I wasn't ready to sing them yet." At the end of the broadcast, he picked up his guitar and softly strummed the opening chords of a song no one had ever heard before. His voice, though aged, was filled with the same sincerity that made him a legend decades ago. When he finished, he smiled faintly and whispered, "That's the one I wanted you to hear." Then the stream ended abruptly, leaving fans stunned and emotional. In that moment, country music felt the quiet passing of an era, a man closing his story not with noise, but with truth. Just when fans thought the news couldn't get any more emotional, Bobby Bear revealed something that sent the entire country music community into a frenzy. In a follow-up post shared on his official page, Bobby uploaded a single black and white photo, an old reel-to-reel tape labeled Outlaw Sessions, 1977. The caption simply read, "We found them." Within minutes, social media erupted. Longtime fans and industry insiders instantly knew what that meant. For decades, whispers had circulated that Bear once recorded a set of songs with his close friends, Waylon Jennings, Johnny Cash, and Willie Nelson, at a private studio outside of Austin, Texas. It was a passion project among friends, meant for fun, never intended for commercial release. But those tapes vanished after the session and were believed to be lost forever in a studio fire. Until now. Bobby explained in the post that while organizing old boxes during lockdown, his son stumbled upon several unmarked reels stored deep in their family vault. After restoring them with help from audio engineers in Nashville, the truth became clear. These were the long-rumored Outlaw Sessions, raw, unfiltered, and bursting with the fire that defined that rebellious era of country music. "It was like hearing my old friends again," Bobby said in a statement. Waylon laughing between takes, Johnny humming while tuning his guitar. It felt like they were right there in the room. The restored tapes reportedly include unreleased versions of Lonesome Valley, Whiskey Morning, and even a haunting duet between Bear and Cash on a song titled God Don't Forget the Working Man. The emotional weight of the discovery was overwhelming. Bobby revealed that several of these tracks would be included on his upcoming farewell album, The Last Outlaw Sessions. Industry veterans are already calling it the most historically significant release in years, a time capsule of true outlaw spirit preserved against all odds. Nashville historians say it could rewrite parts of music history, capturing a side of these legends the world never got to see. Fans began flooding comment sections with tears and tributes, saying Bobby had given them one last miracle. But for Bear, this wasn't about history or charts. As he wrote, "It's not a comeback, it's closure. I just wanted to finish the story we started together." After the revelation of the lost recordings, Bobby Bare's words took on an even deeper meaning. In a heartfelt follow-up interview with a Nashville radio station, he opened up about the real reason behind his sudden announcement. His voice was steady but fragile as he confessed, "I've been battling a few health issues these past years, and I figure it's time to slow down before the road takes more out of me than I can give." For the first time, fans learned that Bare had quietly undergone multiple heart treatments over the last decade, keeping it away from the public eye to avoid sympathy. "I didn't want people to see me as sick," he said. "I wanted them to see me as the same old Bobby, still standing, still singing." But as his doctors warned him to take things easy, Bare began reflecting more deeply on his legacy and what he'd leave behind. "I've had one heck of a run," he told the host. "But you start realizing time doesn't wait for you, no matter how many songs you write." Those close to him revealed that he's been using oxygen between studio sessions and often records sitting down, but insists on finishing every line himself. He refuses to let anyone else sing his parts, a sound engineer said. He says this album has to sound like him, every breath, every crack, every truth. Fans who tuned in to his live sessions noticed his hands shaking slightly as he played, yet his voice carried that unmistakable soul that defined generations. Behind the scenes, friends and family have been encouraging him to focus on his health, but Bare insists this project is what keeps him going. "Music is medicine," he said softly. "It's what's kept my heart beating this long." As the reality of his condition spread, an emotional wave swept through the country music world. Messages poured in from fans saying his songs had helped them through loss, heartbreak, and hard times. Bare, deeply moved, responded to a few personally, writing, "You kept me alive more than you'll ever know." Though he never said the word retirement, it was clear this was his farewell, not just to performing, but to a lifetime on the road. Yet he assured everyone, "I ain't gone yet, I'm just turning the lights down low." The outpouring of love that followed Bobby Bare's revelation was unlike anything the country music world had seen in years. Within hours, tributes began flooding social media from fellow legends, friends and fans who had shared the road, the stage, and the stories with him. Willie Nelson was among the first to respond, posting an old photo of him and Bare sitting on the porch with guitars in hand, laughing like old brothers. His caption was simple, yet powerful. Bobby's voice was the truth, plain and pure. There'll never be another. Dolly Parton soon followed, writing, "Bobby Bare taught us that real country music comes from the soul, not the spotlight. I love him like family." Chris Christopherson's team shared an emotional message, calling Bobby the last of the poets who sang the working man's heart. Even younger artists like Chris Stapleton and Sturgill Simpson spoke out, crediting Bare for inspiring their own songwriting honesty. Nashville turned quiet that night, not in mourning, but in reflection. Local radio stations began dedicating entire hours to Bobby's classics, playing Detroit City and 500 Miles Away from Home back-to-back, as listeners called in to share memories. One caller's voice cracked as she said, "Bobby Bare sang about my father's life better than my father ever could." His Opry family paid tribute too. The Grand Ole Opry's lights dimmed momentarily during the evening show as the announcer said, "For Bobby Bare, whose songs will echo forever through these walls." Even those outside the genre, names from rock, blues, and folk, joined in. Bob Dylan once called Bare one of the real ones, and his team resurfaced that quote on social media with the caption, "Real recognizes real." It became clear that Bare's influence reached far beyond Nashville. His music had seeped into American history itself. Meanwhile, Bobby, ever humble, responded quietly to all the attention. In a handwritten note shared by his son, he wrote, "All I ever wanted was for my songs to mean something to somebody. Seems they did. That's more than enough for me." Those words alone brought tears to countless fans, confirming that even in his farewell, Bobby Bare remained exactly who he'd always been, honest, grounded, and grateful. As tributes continued to pour in, Bobby Bare's family quietly began preparing something truly special, a documentary that would serve as the definitive chronicle of his extraordinary life and legacy. Titled Bare Truth, The Story of Bobby Bare, the project is being produced by his son, Bobby Bare Jr., and a small team of Nashville filmmakers who have worked closely with the family for years. Early reports reveal that the documentary will feature never-before-seen footage from Bobby's early Opry days, personal home videos from the 1960s, and emotional studio moments captured during the making of his final album. One insider described it as the rawest look we'll ever get at a man who never faked a moment in his life. But the most intriguing element of the project isn't the film itself, it's what Bobby left behind to accompany it. According to his son, Bobby wrote a personal letter, sealed in a weathered envelope marked, "To my friends who listened." The letter is set to be revealed at the documentary's premiere. No one outside the family has read it, but early hints suggest it contains Bobby's reflections on life, faith, and what music truly meant to him. Those close to the production say Bobby spent weeks writing and rewriting that message by hand, insisting that every word comes straight from his heart. It's his way of saying goodbye without really saying goodbye, a family friend explained. Meanwhile, the film crew has been traveling to key locations from Bobby's life: his childhood home in Ironton, the small honky-tonks where he first performed, and the Opry stage where he made history. Interviews with fellow musicians, producers, and family members paint a vivid portrait of a man who stayed humble no matter how high he climbed. The director revealed that during filming, Bobby's family broke down while listening to one of his unreleased tracks, titled "If I Don't Sing Tomorrow." The lyrics, written decades ago, eerily mirror his life today. "It was like he wrote his own farewell years before he knew it was coming," the director said. The documentary, along with the reading of Bobby's final letter, is expected to premiere later this year, and fans across the world are already preparing for what promises to be an emotional, once-in-a-lifetime tribute. Yet even with all the nostalgia and tears, one thing remains certain: Bobby Bear's story isn't ending. It's just changing chapters. As the dust settles and the world takes in Bobby Bear's final chapter, one truth becomes undeniable: country music will never see another like him. For nearly 7 decades, Bobby didn't just sing songs, he lived them. Every lyric, every note carried a story pulled from the raw fabric of real life: heartache, laughter, loss, and the quiet strength of everyday people. His farewell album, The Last Outlaw Sessions, isn't just another record. It's a living time capsule, bridging generations and reuniting voices that defined an era. Industry insiders who've heard early cuts describe it as hauntingly beautiful, a blend of Bear's wisdom, weathered voice, and the ghostly echoes of Waylon and Cash harmonizing from beyond the grave. It's not nostalgia, it's history. When asked how he wanted to be remembered, Bobby once said, "Not as a star, just as a man who told the truth." That line now serves as the heart of his legacy. Fans have begun holding candlelight vigils outside the Grand Ole Opry, leaving handwritten notes and old vinyl records as tribute. One message taped to the gates read, "Thank you for teaching us that honesty can rhyme." Meanwhile, streaming platforms have seen a massive resurgence of Bear's classics, with Detroit City and 500 Miles Away from Home climbing back onto country charts for the first time in decades. A poetic reminder that authenticity never goes out of style. Behind the scenes, his family continues to honor his wishes with quiet dignity. They've shared that Bobby spends his days surrounded by music, family, and friends. Still singing, still writing, still smiling. His son recently posted a touching update, showing Bobby on the porch with his old guitar, captioned, "Dad said he's not done making noise yet." That single post reignited hope among fans who refused to call this the end. And perhaps, in a way, it isn't. Bobby Bear's spirit was never about finality, it was about continuity. His music was a bridge between the past and the present, and now it stands as a torch for the future of true country storytelling. In an age of manufactured hits and digital fame, Bear remains the quiet reminder that soul can't be replicated and truth can't be faked. As one critic wrote, "He didn't chase country music, he carried it." Whether this is truly his final goodbye or simply another verse in his never-ending song, Bobby Bear has already secured his place among the immortals. And as fans listen to that final album, one line from his new song seems to linger in the air: "If my voice fades away, let the truth still sing." Maybe that's the real message he wanted to leave behind, not sorrow, but serenity. Because legends like Bobby Bear don't really say goodbye. They just turn down the lights, let the music play, and fade gracefully into eternity, still singing, still smiling, and still telling stories that remind the world what country music was always meant to be: real.